All right, let's get that turned around here. Get my camera off to my cameraman. Hi, everybody. My name is Ruth. I'm one of the naturalists here at Beaver Creek, and tonight we're here for owl prowl. Now, why on earth am I doing owl prowl in February, you say? Well, it's a little bit early for my normal program. Normally I do this in a couple of weeks in March, but I do it now because it's when the owls are most likely to be hooting. They're hooting when it's nesting season. So they're setting up their territories, defending nests, rebuilding their pair bonds. Little bit early to start nesting. It's Wisconsin and it's February. But it's not too early for the owls. It takes them a while to get their babies from being eggs to adults. And so the incubation takes almost a month. So if they lay their eggs in March, it's going to be April before those eggs hatch. And then they're going to be in the nest for about another month. So now we're into May. They'll start leaving the nest, but they can't fly yet for another 10, 12 days. They can fly in about 45 to 50 days. So that's taking us into May/June. And then they hang out with their parents for up to another 4 months. So now those parents have these babies into October. Well, those of us who live in Wisconsin know that October can start to be winter again. So we've got a long period of time for these babies to be raised. The other thing that works really well to the owl's favor is just about the time these eggs are going to hatch, the baby squirrels are coming out of their nests. And so that timing works out pretty well. So welcome again to everybody here. My name is Ruth. I'm one of the naturalists here at Beaver Creek. And we're going to head out just a few minutes and see if we can hear some of the neighborhood owls. I wanted to start inside a little bit so that you could hear well and see well. I normally do this program as part of my whole owl program, and I normally do it in about 3 weeks. One of the things I forgot was that daylight saving time hasn't happened yet. And so it's dark outside, much darker than it normally is for me when I do this program in mid-March. Now I do have another part of this program coming up in about 2 weeks. We're going to learn a little bit more about owls and some of the things that let them be successful nocturnal hunters. We'll also get a chance to meet, that night, Luna, our resident ambassador owl who lives here with us. It's going to be a virtual program. It's free, but it is a Zoom format. So you do need to go on to beavercreekreserve.org, our webpage, and register for it so that I can send you the link before the program begins. All right, so just a minute, we're going to head outside. But the reason we wanted to do this right now is we are kind of at the beginning of the barred owl season. Horned owls are starting to hoot already. Barred owls are starting. But this is something that you can learn a little bit tonight, and then you can take right out into your own backyard. Because the really cool thing is we have owls in Wisconsin, and we have lots of owls in Wisconsin, and it's not uncommon if you know, oh, I should go out and listen for owls, or I should go out and look for owls. Looking is a little harder. I've been doing this program for 28 years now, and I think in all the years I've done it, I have been skunked maybe 5 or 6 times where we didn't hear anything. The rest of the nights we did hear owls. Now, one of the disadvantages I have tonight is if they're not close to us, I might be able to hear them. I'm not entirely sure how good the microphone will pick them up. My husband is running the camera tonight, so if you have questions, feel free to type them into the comments, and he can moderate for me and feed me questions if people have them. I want to show you real quick which 2 owls we might hear. This is one that is probably already on nest and may already have eggs. This is our great horned owl. This is our largest owl in Wisconsin. Great means big, and horned comes from the tufts up here. Join me in a couple weeks and we'll learn more about the individual owls. The one we're going to listen for here at Beaver Creek is this one. You notice he's got stripes on the front, but since he's a bird, we don't refer to those as stripes, we call those bars. And so this is the barred owl. Don't goof it up and call me barn owl, that's a different beast. Again, join me in 2 weeks and we'll learn the difference, how to tell the difference between those 2 owls. Now, barred owls, when they hoot, if we listen to them, the pattern of their hoot is a who cooks for you, who cooks for you all. It's a oh, 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 oh. Who cooks for you, who cooks for you all. Oh, 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 oh. The horned owl is more worried about who's awake. He says, who's awake? Me too. Now, I can't do him without cheek. Who's awake? Me too. That's the pattern for horned owl. Now, if you're going to go listening for owls, you're going to want to do it in the evening. They tend to sound off more in the evening, right after sunset. They're not super vocal in the mornings. In the mornings, they're finishing up eating, they're digesting their food, and they're getting ready to rest for the day. If you're going to go out listening for owls, you need to remember to dress appropriately. Even though it was warm out today, the sun goes down and it gets chilly outside. So you want to make sure that you're appropriately dressed. It's no fun if you're outside trying to do something and you're cold. You want to make sure that it's a day when you've got some patience, because this requires you to be very, very quiet. So when you go out, if you're not just standing on your front porch, you're going to walk, and then you need to stop and stand for a little bit. Owls have exceptional hearing. If they're close by and you're shuffling your feet, especially in the snow and the ice, it's going to make noise. They're going to hear that, and they're not going to respond very well. Barred owls will respond to their own calls if they're in the area. They're the most likely ones to do that. Horned owls are a little more picky. Now, a lot of us will go out and we can use our phones. There's all sorts of sources out there that have calls on them. I particularly like the calls that are on the Audubon site. Cornell's site, a lot of times their songs and their calls are a little bit muddied up, or they have a little different dialect than the ones that are here. And just like human speech, people who live down south sound different. They have a drawl to their talk, and they think we talk funny and so forth. So that dialect is different with the birds. I do, like I said, I like the Audubon site. They usually have a variety of calls and songs on for each individual bird. So you can do that, but remember, this is nesting season. You don't want to go out and harass them. Now, there's studies, and there's nothing conclusive as to whether or not this would be harmful for the birds. Playing callback does tend to keep you out of habitat, so you're not like crashing through the woods as much, and you're not necessarily disrupting any of the other birds that happen to be there. But if you get a pair riled up enough and they leave, who's to say that you aren't that predators now aren't going to be able to get to the eggs or the young? There's no studies to support that, but use common sense. We don't want to be rude. You want to go and see if you can get anybody to chat with you and then be able to come back. So those of you who joined me late, my name is Ruth. I'm one of the naturalists here at Beaver Creek Reserve, and we are just about ready to head outside to see if we can hear here at the reserve, because we are a floodplain. It's going to be barred owls. That would be the most common ones that we will hear tonight, if we hear them. Wild animals are always wild animals. They sometimes will cooperate and sometimes not. I'm a little early in the season. I usually do this program in about 3 weeks, but we wanted to give you the knowledge to be able to go out over the next couple weeks and be able to listen for these guys at home. Remember, in 2 weeks from tonight, I do have a program that will teach you more about Wisconsin owls and how owls can be nocturnal hunters. That program is at 7 o'clock on March 9th. And to sign up for it, you need to go to beavercreekreserve.org and register. There's no price for it, but you need to be registered so that I can send you the link, because we're not going to do it off of a Facebook Live. We're going to do it off of a Zoom format. So hope to see you then. I'm going to put on the rest of my outdoor gear, and we're going to start heading outside. So let's go see if we can see or hear any of our neighborhood owls. All right, are we ready? You can follow me this way, please. Because of my Wi-Fi connection here at the reserve, we don't get very far away from the building, but we usually don't need to. What's nice is the building is on a hill, and so we're up at tree height. It actually is easier to hear from here than if I were to go down into the bottomlands. Once you drop down, then the trees get in your way and you can't hear as well. So it usually actually works better for listening for the birds up here. I got some of the neighborhood dogs going. Woo! Let's move a little bit further down. Remember, if you have questions, Ray can see that if you type them into the comments, and we can help take care of that. I had Ray bring his phone out. I think I'm going to have him go ahead and try the actual call. call he just played is a duet call. And so when you're talking about birds that are defending territory, sometimes that call, if there's anybody in the neighborhood, will get them talking a little bit sooner. So we're going to be real quiet for a couple seconds. I find it interesting that at night you hear so many more noises. Like Highway 12 traffic is super loud for me right now, and the train is going through Fall Creek, and I can hear that.
Okay, here's a question for you.
Okay.
Megan is asking, do you know of any owls that are nesting at Beaver Creek Reserve?
Yes. I haven't found the actual nest, but we heard duet calls coming from down near the boardwalk and then over on the hill past Beaver Creek. Not tonight, but the other night. So that indicates to me that there would be owls nesting here.
And here's a question from Ginny.
I'll take it in just a second.
Sure. Okay, a question from Ginny. Approximately when do the eggs hatch and how long after do they fledge?
So it takes about 30 days for the eggs to hatch, and then it's another 45 days or so before they'll fledge. And fledge means to be able to fly. They'll leave the nest about 30 days after hatching, but there's another 10 to 15 days before they can fly.
And a question from Janet. What kind of owl's calls are you playing?
I'm playing what's called a barred owl call. So for people who joined us a little bit late, I was explaining that at the beginning of our thing. Barred owls are most likely the ones I'm going to get a response from here at Beaver Creek. So they are, because we are in a floodplain, they tend to be in this kind of a forest. They tend to be in a mature, thicker forest that is flooded at least part of the year, or near a swamp or marsh area.
Here's another question, this one from Elizabeth. My son Liam would like to know if there are any other owls we could hear here other than the great horned and the barred owl.
There are other owls, the smaller owls, but they don't tend to make their noises quite this early. If you're really interested in that, I'll go through that in my program in a couple of weeks. The screech owls, who don't really screech, they sound kind of like a little toy tin horse, and we may be able to pick up saw-whets. Some of the other owls, long ears and short ears, are going to be a little less frequent. Again, it's habitat, and it's also location as far as whether you live in town or not. The two big owls, because of the rivers that we have around here, the barred and the horned owl, we definitely can hear those, and you can hear them right in Eau Claire. You don't necessarily even need to go out into the country to hear those owls because of the habitat and the rivers.
And Mark has kind of a question and a comment. I made a barred owl house today and put it up today. Hopefully I'm not too late for this year.
Probably this year, yes, because they will already most likely have their sites. But then again, the birds don't read the books, and so they kind of do what they want to. But typically, you would want to have the cavity, because barred owls do utilize a cavity. You'd want that box to have been up probably in December already. But it's not bad to have it out there for a year. Some of the smaller owls might take it. You might get, depending on your habitat again, you might have some other fun things that might show up in your box this year.
Okay, George has a comment. When a great horned owl makes the "Who's awake, me too" call, what is it trying to do? Attract a mate? Chase away other owls? Do both male and females make that sound?
Both males and females make the sounds, and they can get off into some other noises that they go together. And they are, for the most part, they already have a mate. Owls don't per se not mate for life, but they do pick a territory. She picks the territory. Remember, she's going to be bigger, and she lets him stay there. So they're kind of reestablishing that bond a little bit, but they're also announcing to everybody else out there, hey, this is my space, back off.
Okay, from Heather. Hazel asks, approximately how old does a great horned owl live to be?
Let's see. These are all questions I look up before my next program. Off the top of my head, because I didn't double check that number today. I believe in the wild, they can have a wild expectancy up to 7 to 12 years. In captivity, they could be between 20 and 30 years. Sounds like you've got lots of good questions. I hope you guys can join me on my other program, and we can definitely discuss a lot of these.
From Sadie. Oh,
Yeah, what does Sadie have?
from Sadie. My daughter Callie is wondering, what is your favorite owl?
My favorite owl is actually a great gray owl. That's a northern owl that we see. We don't typically see them this far south. We have to go looking for them. My husband and I a lot of times will go looking for them up past Duluth. And that's a really big owl. Like if his... Can you guys hear that? Is anybody responding? Can they hear that? Please tell me you can hear that. Excellent. So that's not me anymore. That's a real barred owl. Hey. So again, this is something you can do by where you live. I'm just outside the back door of the nature center because of the Wi-Fi. And we finally got an owl who's cooperating. This again is a barred owl. And you got thumbs up. People are able to hear this. Fantastic. Yay! Now you notice once it started to talk, I'm not gonna talk back to it. I'm just gonna let it do its thing. I'm not gonna try to confuse it. I was hoping the pair would start. All right, fantastic. Woo-hoo. Do we have more questions?
From Christine. Ruth, did you play your sounds from YouTube? How can we do what you did?
So, the calls I was using were off of the Audubon site. So I looked up barred owl, and then usually the first ones are Cornell, and then you're looking for the National Audubon site. Audubon has better calls. If you have to kind of scroll through their page, and they have a range map, and then under the range map, and tucked in oddly, there is calls. And I just stopped because there's another owl hooting, but I don't think you can hear them. So again, I use the Audubon calls because they're a clean call. I don't know if I'm gonna have Ray turn the camera a little bit because there's more activity. There is a second owl, but he's farther off, and I don't know that the microphone's going to pick that up. This is the close one. Oh, it's always fun when they're having a conversation.
Lauren says she hears the faint one.
Fantastic. There's actually 3.
Yeah.
I've got the first one that's been hooting. There's one further off to my right, and there's one way off to the left.
There is a question from Julie.
Okay.
What would be the main owl meals in the Beaver Creek area?
What do they eat?
Yes.
So barred owls weigh in at, the girls probably weigh in at about 2 pounds. So they're mostly eating mice, voles. They can do small squirrels. Some of our big fat gray squirrels that we have who feed really well at my bird feeder, I don't think they might be able to take those. They're a little bit big. Fantastic. This is a great conversation.
Okay, just before the owls started, there was another question from Heather.
Okay.
Hazel asks, we are in Bozeman, Montana, at the same latitude as the reserve. Are horned owls on their eggs here too?
Bozeman should be at our elevation, right?
Bozeman is higher.
Higher. Bozeman might be a little behind us because not only latitude but also altitude is going to affect a little bit. But horned owls definitely should be fairly close to the same time as us in Bozeman.
From Cheryl, what is their predator?
So, oddly enough, barred owls' probably main predator is horned owls. It's the rule of the jungle. If I'm bigger than you, I get to eat you. And they're making noise at the time the horned owls are hooting. Or hunting, I'm sorry. So horned owls are hunting. Barred owls are announcing where they are. If you have a horned owl, if a horned owl came in right now and hooted, the barred owls would stop. Other predators can be any of the things that climb trees. They're going to particularly go after, it's going to be more that first year when they can't fly well or when they're still just nestlings. So raccoon, fisher, mink, any of those types of predatory animals that can manage to get up into a tree.
Jeanette says her kids are outside hooting right now.
Are they getting any response? It's a great activity, and it's definitely one that you can be socially distanced with. And so, if you listen in your neighborhood and you try in your neighborhood, you're not hearing, then, you might have to plan a night where you go to a local park. Here in the Eau Claire area, come sit in the parking lot at Beaver Creek. You don't have to go very far. I'm just out the back door. You can go to, Carson Park, Irvine Park in Chippewa Falls. Some of those types of areas where there's trees along the river are going to give you your best shots. Behind the university, that area back in there in Eau Claire would be another good place to go listen. All right, I think our conversations have ended, and we had a really good response. So I think I'm gonna head back up so I can you can see me as we say goodbye. who weren't with us right away at the beginning. This is the barred owl. This is what we were hearing outside. Gets the name from the stripes, the bars that are on the bird. And the other bird here in Wisconsin that would be very likely to be heard is the great horned. Now in 2 weeks, you can join me and learn all sorts of cool things about owls here in Wisconsin and what makes them successful nocturnal hunters, and even get a chance to meet Luna, our ambassador owl that lives here with us at the reserve. And so that's on March 9th at 7 o'clock. You are going to have to register for that one. There's no charge. It is a free program, but because it's off a Zoom platform, I need to be able to send you the link. So if you go to beavercreekreserve.org, you can register for that program, and then I'll see you hopefully on the 9th. Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We got another question?
One quick question.
Sure.
How about, this is from Don, how about Sherman Creek Park?
Sherman Creek would be another place that would be a good place. Lois Creek, Sherman Creek, Otter Creek, any of those areas that, because they're all flood, we're all flood creeks up here, and so that's all really good habitat. I would expect barred owls in most of those habitats. Horned owls can be there. They can be where they want to be pretty much. They rule the roost, but they tend to like a little more open park and ones that aren't getting wet part of the year. All right, we did it. We got some owls. All right. We'll see you in a couple weeks, hopefully. Have a good night.